What's up guys, we're back with another tier list video. Today we're going to be ranking the Pixar movies. I've seen most of the Pixar movies, so this should be pretty fun. I find that Pixar is probably the greatest animation studio out right now. They just make like such high quality movies, so this will definitely be fun to go through. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of reasoning behind each of my choices. In previous videos, I had just kind of gone like, oh, this one goes in good, this one goes in whatever, you know? But I'm gonna try to give like an explanation for each one, so it's just a little bit more thorough this time around. The rating system is perfect, amazing, great, good, meh, didn't see, because there's a couple of these that I haven't seen, and the worst, which hopefully none of these will end up in that category, but we'll see. So let's start with Toy Story. Ooh, oh my god. I have a history with Toy Story. When I was a kid, this was like my favorite movie. The first movie I've ever seen in theaters was actually Hercules, the animated Hercules movie, but this movie, oh my god, I was just obsessed with it. My parents got me like all the toys. I loved my like Woody and Buzz Lightyear toys. I would try to even reenact scenes from the movie. Like there's a scene where Buzz tries to fly and he falls down the stairs and like his arm comes off or whatever. I would literally do that as a kid, and I would throw my Buzz Lightyear down the staircase and he would just crash into the floor and get like destroyed. So I went through a couple different Buzz Lightyears. So that's pretty funny. I've seen this movie on VHS like countless times. So for me, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but for me, it was the first CGI movie ever. So it's way up there, honestly. Okay, the next movie is Bug's Life. This is another one that I watched countless times on VHS. I had all the toys. I was like in this movie. I was submerged into the world of Bug's Life, and I just loved every second of it. But for me, I can't say that it's as good as Toy Story, so I'm gonna put it in amazing, just because it's not as good as Toy Story. Toy Story 2, honestly, I know that people are like, wow, Toy Story 2 was so much better than Toy Story 1. They expanded upon so many things, and it was just so great. But for me, yeah, it was great, but it wasn't perfect or even amazing. For me, it was great. I love the new characters that they introduced. Jessie and you know, all the new characters were great, but there was just some moments in there that were kind of weird. I think that they even completely redid this movie. Like they made the movie and it was about something completely different. You can find some articles about like the original concept for Toy Story 2, and then they said, no, this was not good, we have to go back to the drawing board, and they completely redid it and then gave us the movie that we have today. But for me, it was not as good. Monsters Inc. Ooh, Monsters Inc. Like Bug's Life, this is another one for me that I was just in the world of Monsters Inc. I loved it. I loved the whole like system of going through doors and like kind of teleporting between worlds. It's so cool, and each monster, like their design was so unique. The story between like Sully and getting attached to this kid Boo, and just that whole like emotional aspect, the like music right at the end when he has to like say goodbye to Boo, and that like heart-wrenching music plays. Oh my god, it's so good. So good. I'm gonna put it in amazing. Finding Nemo. People loved Finding Nemo, like really loved it. I remember seeing it in theaters when I was a kid, and one of my best friends from when I was a kid, funny enough, I went to go see the movie. We didn't coordinate with him at all, but then I ended up seeing him at the theater, which is really that was fun. I'd say that this one again is also just great. I can't put it in amazing. It's not as good as like Monsters Inc., but I'd say it's as good as like Toy Story 2. It's still a great one. Incredibles. We also have Incredibles 2 on here. Oof, Incredibles also great, but the only thing that's preventing me from putting it in amazing is I find the world of the Incredibles is kind of generic. Like they're just regular humans, but then they have superpowers. Like if you were to draw up like a generic superhero, it would probably be like Mr. Incredible. You know, it's not that memorable, but I know that's kind of the point of him. He's just like the average dad, but he's a superhero. And anyways, I would say it's great. It is a great movie. It's just not as memorable as like Bug's Life or Monsters Inc. for me, but it is still really great. Cars. Cars. I know people like hate Cars, but I would say it belongs in good because it's not bad enough to be meh or the worst. But the first Cars, it is good. It's interesting for me, my whole connection with this movie is that my dad, when I was growing up, he loved NASCAR. He loved, oh my God, he loved NASCAR. And he had all these collectibles of different NASCARs and things. So, of course, when they made like a NASCAR Pixar movie, we went to go see it with him. And we did enjoy it quite a bit. For me, it's just a good. It's not great enough to be next to like Incredibles or Toy Story 2. And of course, it's not amazing. So I'd say it's good. The story was decent. The characters were all right. Ratatouille. Ooh, I'm torn on this one. I'm really, really torn on this one. It's either a great or a good. I remember at the time when I saw it in theaters, I only thought it was like good. But looking back on it, the story is pretty unique, you know? It's like this rat who hides underneath the chef's hat and kind of controls him, but you know, he's a chef, but he's like he's a rat. Rats are usually like condemned from kitchens. You don't want to see a rat in your kitchen, so he's forced to hide and control the chef so that he's able to do what he loves, which is cooking. Oh my God, it's actually such a unique concept for a movie. I have to kind of put it in great just because of the originality and the characters and just how memorable the movie is. At first I was leaning more towards good, but it's kind of better than Cars though. So I'm going to put it in great. I think it deserves to be there, to be honest. Ooh. WALL-E, man. WALL-E. WALL-E is one of those really, really phenomenal movies. Phenomenal movies. I would say it deserves to be an amazing next to Monsters Inc. and Bug's Life because the concept of WALL-E is so interesting. Like, he's a robot on Earth after the Earth has been like destroyed, and he's like the only living thing on there aside from his little cockroach friend, and then he ends up going to space, meeting with this new robot Eve, and you get to kind of follow along that story and see where the humans ended up when they're like living on a spaceship and they're all fat and they're forced to like go around on these like floating chairs because they can't even move, and then at the end they go back to Earth, and you kind of see that like rebirth of like life sprouting again on Earth. And oh my God, it was such a unique concept, especially for taking that dark concept of like we destroyed the Earth and now we have to try to rebuild it, you know, and making that into a kids movie though. Or Pixar movies, I find they're not just kids movies. Like, people usually associate, oh, animation, that's kiddie, that's for kids. But Pixar movies, I find that they're really for all audiences. Yeah, it's really like a family movie. It's not like a kids movie. I just noticed on this list, we don't have Lightyear on here. We don't have Lightyear. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so we're gonna leave out Lightyear, I guess. But I would have liked to rank that one as well. But anyway, maybe at the end I'll tell you guys where I would have put Lightyear on this list. I think that'll be interesting. Up. Ooh, man, Up. I'm gonna put Up in perfect just because I find that this movie gets so much. It just gets everything right. Right from the beginning, you get hooked to the characters, to, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. The old man. What is his name? I'll put it on screen. You just get hooked to him and his story with his wife, and oh my God, it's just heart-wrenching right from the beginning, and the music, and oh my God. Every time I hear that, like, I think it's a piano song that plays right at the beginning when, like, his wife is dying, it's like, oh, it makes me cry like every time I hear it because it's just so heart-wrenching and emotional. And then you get to see his whole like adventure with like this Boy Scout kid, like talking dog. It's like so weird. And then like this bird. It's such a weird story, but it's so interesting, and I appreciate that they took a lot of like creative liberties, and it starts very relatable, and it's just like this husband and wife and their whole life together, but then it just takes a completely different turn, and like it's this house that's floating in the air, and it's so weird, but I really like that it went that, it wasn't scared to go that like weird route. So I'm gonna put it in perfect. I think it really, really This is maybe Pixar's best movie ever. You could definitely, it definitely deserves to be in that conversation. Toy Story 3, man, this movie, again, I'm going to say perfect because it's way better than Toy Story 2, way better. And the way that it came out so long after Toy Story 2, and they knew that the audience that had seen those original movies had grown up, and then so they kind of made it so Andy grew up kind of alongside us. Just the way that they achieved that in the movie was so perfect, and they knew that we all had this like relationship to all these characters, and they really they again, like Up, they pulled on your like heartstrings during certain scenes. And oh my god, the ending, like Up, has like that music that just makes you like cry. Me and my brother were like crying in the theater when we saw this originally. It's just so heartwarming, so like heart-wrenching, like it's so sad. It has such sad moments. It has such like high highs. It's just such a great movie. And the characters, each of the characters are so original and memorable. Lotso, he's like this cuddly teddy bear, but then of course his character ends up being the opposite of that. He's kind of like evil and like sad. So I think this deserves to be in perfect, honestly. Cars 2, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen Cars 2, so I cannot rate that one. Brave, I've seen some clips of it, but I haven't seen it in its entirety, so I'm gonna say didn't see for that one as well. Monsters University, I'm gonna put this one in good. I don't think it deserves to be alongside any of these other ones. I think it's good. It's kind of like a weird like frat boy Monsters Inc. movie, which is a weird turn. I wish that they would have made a straight up Monsters Inc. sequel, which they did kind of do in the Monsters at Work series. I'll put it in good, which I just noticed is here. So we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to this one, I guess. But I wish that they would have made Monsters at Work, but as a movie, I would have enjoyed that a little bit more than what we got with Monsters University, but it was still good. I still did enjoy it at the time that I watched it, so I'm gonna put it in good. I haven't really revisited it since then though. Inside Out, ooh. Inside Out for me, I'm just thinking about this scene with like that imaginary friend character, and when he like dies and everyone like cried during that scene. They make you care about like such this like goofy, kind of stupid looking imaginary friend character, but they were able to like make you like attach and really care about this character, even though he's like kind of this goofy, like stupid character. The fact they were able to do that was kind of amazing. But the other characters in the movie I find were not memorable. Like Joy, she's kind of generic, but she's like the main character kind of the movie, aside from like the human that they're like inside of. Human characters were very generic. I didn't really care about them. You cared more about like the emotion characters, but even them, they were kind of just whatever. Like the angry character is just like, if you had to make anger into a character, he's the character you would make, but he's nothing like beyond that. Like the characters are not that fleshed out beyond that. The most fleshed out character is like Joy and like this imaginary friend character, funny enough. So I think that prevents the movie from going into amazing or perfect. I know a lot of people really liked this movie. I know they're also making a sequel to it, which is going to be weird, I find. But I think that it deserves to be in great still. It has a lot of flaws, but it's not bad enough to be on like any of these lower levels, I find. So I'm going to put it in great. The Good Dinosaur. I do remember kind of liking this movie when I first watched it, but when I watched it a second time, I ended up turning it off like halfway through. So I think that it just deserves to be in good. It's not like bad enough to be in any of these lower categories. It's still like decent, I find, but I remember this movie had a very troubled development period. Pixar, it took them so long to make this movie, and I'll have to look into the story behind it a little bit more. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I think it was just good. The characters were kind of a little bit generic, but I remember the story between the dinosaur and the little kid being kind of, heartwarming, so I'll put it in good. Finding Dory, I've actually never seen this movie. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to look back on it, and Ellen DeGeneres is the main character, and her reputation is just destroyed now. So it's kind of weird to watch the movie and like think about her and how, like all the things she's done. Anyways, it's weird. I might never watch this movie in my lifetime. I don't know. Cars 3, I also have not seen it. I've seen the trailers, of course, where it's Lightning McQueen wiping out and kind of his story after that, his like story of recovery, I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know fully what it's about. Coco, I do want to see this one. It's kind of like Pixar's interpretation of like the Day of the Dead, I think. Anyway, I don't know all that much about it, but from what I've seen, it does look really interesting, and I've heard really amazing things about it, so I do want to watch this one eventually. I have Disney Plus, so I think I should check this one out soon. Incredibles 2. From what I've heard, this one isn't that great compared to Incredibles 1, and I think that those comments of people saying it's not as memorable kind of got in my head and made me like not want to see it. But that being said, I have not seen it, so I can't really comment. Toy Story 4, I do think that they should have stopped with the Toy Story movies. 3 was such a phenomenal, they just tied the bow on the whole series with that one, and they should have just stopped there. It was such a perfect ending. But that being said, Toy Story 4, although the ending isn't as memorable to me as like Toy Story 3, you at least get a bit of closure between like Woody and Buzz, but I don't know if that was really needed. But for me, it's probably as good as like Toy Story 2 or something, or maybe even better than Toy Story 2. A little bit better, but it's not quite amazing. So I'd put it at great, to be honest. Onward, oh my god, I'm gonna put Onward in amazing because I really enjoyed this movie and I wasn't expecting much from it. So I think that the fact I had very low expectations and they really I was pleasantly surprised with it, I'm going to put it in amazing. And I also loved like the character and the whole world that they had set up with this one, so I think it definitely deserves to be an amazing. Soul. Ooh, Soul. Oh my god, I have not seen Soul since it came out. It came out during the pandemic, I think. It was just a straight to Disney Plus release. Oh my god. Oh, this one is going to be hard for me to rank. I definitely have to rewatch this movie because it's an interesting one. I don't know if it deserves to be in like amazing or great. I remember really liking it, but oh my god, this is a tough one. I'm going to put it in amazing just because the concept of the movie is so interesting. Like, it's a guy who dies and then you see kind of what happens to his soul, and this whole story unfolds of like his soul and this other soul. They go on like an adventure together, and just the concept, the fact that they were able to, Pixar made a movie about death and made it appealing to kids. That's so interesting to me, and I just thought it was really a clever movie, so I think it deserves to be an amazing. I have to rewatch it though. I've only seen it once and my memory is like failing me on certain aspects of it. So Luca, oh my god. Luca is almost perfect, I find. It's another one of those ones like Onward that I had very low expectations. I was almost expecting it to be bad, and then it just blew me out of the water. And by the end of the movie, it has, of course, those Pixar tear-jerking moments, and it was just fantastic. So I'm gonna put it in amazing. The soundtrack, I don't remember it being that memorable, but the characters were very memorable, and the scenery was just gorgeous. The animation was gorgeous, and I just thought it was a very interesting movie. Definitely go watch it if you haven't already. Monsters at Work. Ooh, I think Monsters at Work deserves to be above Monsters University. It's great. I wish they would have done more with it. I wish they would have done maybe a second season or something, because I find the concept really interesting to see what happens to like the factory after the events of Monsters Inc. And then you're seeing like these average Joe monsters, working there, and I just think that they could have done they could have told a lot of interesting stories in that setting, and I hope that they bring it back for a second season, which I don't think they will, to be honest. But this was kind of a slept on one, so I'm gonna put it in great. Doug Days, I have not seen Doug Days as of yet, and the last one being Turning Red. We'll talk a bit about Lightyear too, though. I think that Turning Red, it's better than any of these in this category, so it doesn't deserve to be in good, I don't think. It's either amazing or great, and to be honest, unfortunately I'm gonna have to put it in great because it doesn't pass the threshold of like being on the same level as Luca or Monsters Inc. or anything like that. Like, it's the kind of movie where I've seen it once and I feel like, you know, I've seen enough. I don't have to watch it again. It was very good, and the characters were relatable, and everything was fleshed out perfectly. The world was interesting. It actually took place in Toronto, Canada, which, in case you don't know, I'm in Montreal, Canada, so that was nice to see. It was nice to see all those like references and everything. The animation was gorgeous. Yeah, I just don't feel the need to ever like revisit it or anything. The whole like K-pop pop group aspect of it was interesting, but yeah, I think it just deserves to be in great because it's not quite at the level of these other movies in amazing. So Lightyear, let's talk about Lightyear because Lightyear is a controversial one, very, very controversial one for some reason. It's either like a love it or hate it kind of movie. Personally, I loved it because right from the beginning, they hook you in, they like make you care for the characters. Buzz Lightyear's like partner dies and then he comes back and has to like watch this like heart-wrenching video from her, and oh my god, I was like sobbing in the theater. And just, yeah, that was an incredible movie. I found some people thought it was a little bit generic, which the scenery and certain aspects of it definitely were, but I think that it still deserves, funny enough, I think it deserves to be in, I want to say amazing, maybe great, but I would maybe put it in amazing. I had a very fun time with that movie, and I would rewatch it, unlike Turning Red. I think it might deserve to be an amazing. They teased a sequel at the end of that movie. They teased a cutscene that was heavily hinting at a sequel. I think that Pixar might second guess that decision actually because of the reception that it got, which is very unfortunate because they could definitely flesh that out and make it like a whole trilogy maybe, but unfortunately I don't think it'll get the chance. So I would put Lightyear around here, probably in amazing. So that is my Pixar movie tier list. Definitely let me know what you thought in the comments down below if you disagree with any of my takes, or if you maybe agree with any of my takes. That's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and comment down below and subscribe to your boy. As always, we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and once we reach that goal, I have a surprise for you guys planned, so you're not going to want to miss it. You're going to want to be here once we hit that mark. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.